Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the dizzying world of US-China trade, where tariffs are the weapons and your smartphone might just be collateral damage. Trump's back in office, and the trade war is heating up again, with more twists and turns than a roller coaster. So, did Trump really exempt Chinese phones and chips from tariffs? The answer, as always, is complicated. Let's break it down. Just days after announcing exemptions on a whole range of tech products imported from China, things like smartphones, laptops, flash drives, the Trump administration seemed to do a complete 180. This initial move, announced on Friday, gave a sigh of relief to US tech giants like Apple and Nvidia, who rely heavily on Chinese manufacturing. Their stock prices even saw a bump. But then, bam, on Monday, the tune changed. Critics accused Trump of flip-flopping, suggesting he was backing down on his tough stance against China. But here's the key. The exemptions only applied to tariffs imposed since April the 2nd. This is crucial to understand the full picture. So, what about all the other tariffs? Well, those are still very much in place. See, this trade war didn't just start this month. It's been brewing for years, even predating Biden's presidency. Remember, even before these recent moves, Trump had already imposed a 20% tariff on all Chinese goods when he took office on January 20th. That's a baseline surcharge that affects a huge range of products, including those shiny new iPhones and laptops. That 20% was built up from a 10% tariff imposed on February 1st and another 10% increase on March the 4th. And it gets even more tangled when we talk about semiconductors, those tiny but vital chips that power pretty much everything. The Trump administration's exemption on semiconductor products, it's kind of a mirage. Even before Trump's return, Biden had slapped a 50% tariff on all Chinese semiconductors, effective January 1st. Trump hasn't touched that. And since most of the electronics we import from China rely on these semiconductors, they could still get hit hard. Plus, let's not forget those Biden-era sanctions on Chinese semiconductor companies, limiting their access to high-end chips. Those are still in effect too. So, what's on the horizon? Well, Trump has threatened new tariffs on Chinese electronics. He's also talking about launching a national security tariff investigation into the US semiconductor supply chain and China's role in it. This is where things get interesting. The US could use national security concerns to justify even more restrictions on trade with China, particularly in critical sectors like semiconductors, as Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, told CNN. The US might use Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act to justify bringing semiconductor production back to America to protect national security. This back and forth over electronics and semiconductors is just one piece of a much larger trade war. Since Trump's April 2nd announcement, the US and China have been slapping retaliatory tariffs on each other left and right. Currently, Chinese exports to the US, excluding those recently exempted electronics, face a whopping 145% tariff. US goods entering China, they're hit with a 125% surcharge. While the US has paused additional tariffs on most countries for 90 days, China wasn't included in that deal. So, who ultimately pays the price for all this? Trump argues that stock market turbulence is just a short-term consequence of fixing the global trade order, but experts warn that these tariffs could lead to higher prices for US consumers and hurt US manufacturers who rely on Chinese components. Companies like Apple are particularly vulnerable. A huge percentage of their products are assembled in China. Lobbying groups are urging Washington to negotiate trade deals that lower barriers. But so far, those calls seem to be falling on deaf ears. So there you have it. The US-China trade war is a complex and constantly evolving situation. While there was a brief moment of relief with those limited exemptions, the reality is that tariffs on Chinese goods, including electronics, remain high. The situation is fluid and we'll be sure to keep you updated as things develop. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth analysis, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Are these tariffs a necessary evil, or are they hurting American consumers? Thanks for watching.